nitty-gritties of this build. So the main skill is indeed Explosive Arrow. And the way that the character is played is you stack the Explosive Arrow on a single target, you shoot them once with Split Arrow, and then you wait, and they explode, and hopefully annihilate everyone around them too. Oh, that guy did not catch on fire. Curse Immune does not matter because this build actually uses Elemental Equilibrium. Desynced monster there. Should be doing it from that pretty fast. It's important to note that this is 100% a hardcore viable build. Originally made this build on hardcore, so oh, I forgot my AA is not on. That's a mistake. I wonder I was actually taking damage from the wood bears. One of the big major pros of this build is the range. We have Blink Arrow for movement. It's important to note this character is currently on level 76, so this is definitely a build in progress. It's also a build that can be made extremely powerful by a couple corrupts, which I will get to. Alright, we'll go ahead and do Elrond because Elrond has great experience. You can see there's just bodies of the burned on the ground. Only 22 souls? Now they're coming in earnest. Cool. So I'm doing the kind of map that I would do at this character's current level. To demonstrate tank ability, I'm just going to stand in front of him. He doesn't... That was a pretty powerful void bear, and he didn't really do anything to me. This is a very easy build to make. It's pretty darn budget. I played this build in the 1-month temp leagues just because I wanted to make something that was powerful that I could level quickly with. As you can see, I rarely even have to touch my flasks. I don't think I have touched in this map yet. This build is not that great against enemies that cannot be ignited, but there are solutions for that, and there are easy ways to increase your single target damage for actual boss fights, which I will actually demonstrate at the end of this video. Well, not the end of this video, the end of this map, because there's a nice convenient boss at the end of the map, so we will deal with him. That was not the right guy to target, but that's okay. Alright, this is a cool opportunity to show good strongbox technique. So generally opening strongboxes, I'm going to blink arrow up to the high ground. So, I didn't do that right, but what you want to do is right at the box, blink to the high ground and click on the box. So basically by the time that box opens, you'll be already away. It's very similar to the lightning warp technique for casters, but you can just do it with blink arrow as. Oh, nice, not bad loot. As an archer, if you use blink arrow. Build has reasonable clear speed, especially for the budget. There's like 2 items you need for this build in terms of uniques. One of them is pretty common and can be bought fairly cheaply. The other one you can actually craft with a vendor recipe. So very easy stuff. I may just remake the intro right in the middle of this map, just to kind of talk about what the character does. Okay, I think this is the boss area. Yeah, this is the boss area. Okay, so this is how you're going to want to deal with bosses. Okay, you're going to want to swap out your elemental proliferation for concentrated effect, which I believe I keep on my swap. Yes. So let's go swap. Okay. That's not the boss. Go back. There we go. Alright. So we'll try to find the boss here. There he is. I haven't walked on. And there we go. So there I used concentrated effect to do a lot more single target damage. Okay. So, alright, we'll solve back for our pro life. Alright. So that will about do it for this map. Alright, let's take that and portal out. Alright, and I'll talk about the way this character works now.
God bless you, Exile.
Wow, I picked up some bogusly bad things. That's not very good. Okay, so I think the most important thing to before we look at the gear, it's going to be really important to actually look at the passive tree. Okay, so this character is a Templar. As you can see, we have 362 intelligence, 260 strength, and 222 dexterity. So it's very balanced in stats and has generally very high stats in all areas. Okay, so I'll zoom out a little bit. So some of our the big priorities here: a lot of life and mana regeneration, increase maximum mana, life, obviously, things like attack speed. Area of effect, damage and radius, elemental damage and chance to ignite. You have things like life, obviously life pretty much everywhere. We have these reduced mana reserve things so we can run all the ores that we do. I cut down, and over here we go into the witch area to get Eldritch Battery to help us with our mana, more mana things, life, area of effect and damage, more mana. I'm about to get this life and mana node, so that's pretty exciting. And then we come down south, we get Resolute Technique, because this build doesn't need to crit. We have things like Arsonist for fire damage and life regeneration. Elemental Equilibrium, which actually increases your DPS by a lot. On the way to get this, we get this very useful node Shaper here. It also gives access to things like Inner Force if you want to use that, and things like Ash, Frost, and Storm, or Combat Stamina if you want more armor and life regeneration. Then we come across the big life wheel here, and we jump down into the duelist area. So here are the important things. We obviously have life and more mana regeneration, but I pick up Iron Reflexes to give myself a big fat armor rating. It's also possible to get Fury Bolts. This will actually increase the damage of your explosive arrow because it is tagged as projectile. But that's optional if you need more damage. I may pick it up soon. We will see. Although, honestly, I personally believe these fire damage nodes are actually really better. These are really what you want. So I'm probably going to go into... I may pick up this entire fire wheel. Alright, so as you can see, this is a 4-keystone build. Eldritch Battery, Elemental Equilibrium, Resolute Technique, and Iron Reflexes. Okay? So, if I go into my gear, you can see over here that I run Grace, Discipline, and Clarity. Discipline and Clarity are both to boost my mana pool, because I said earlier we have Eldritch Battery, so I can both run Arctic Armor, and I can spam out a 41 cost explosive arrow that attacks more than 5 times per second. And as you can see, my pool is gradually draining. But the thing is, for practicality's sake, this doesn't really drain, so I never really hold down the button and don't move around and stuff. Okay? So, into gear. So as you can see, I don't have anything here that's more than a 4-link. Okay? Now, for your helmet, well, pretty much all the non-bow pieces on this gear, you're just going to want good pieces, preferably with like evasion or armor, and then maybe energy shield, and then you just want life and resistances. So as you can see here, we have life and resistance on our helm, along with evasion rating and energy shield. Our chest is an armor and energy shield chest with life and resistance. So it's not super special. Gloves are armor gloves with life and resistance and dex. Dex is actually something, until you go make that big passage down into the duelist tree, you're going to need Dex on gear to be able to run Explosive Arrow, because Explosive Arrow is a Dex only skill and is very Dex heavy. And then my boots, I have some energy shield boots. So as you can see, I have a mana pool of over 2,500, a life pool of close to 4,000. And yeah, jewelry like your belt, life and resist. Pretty standard stuff. Life and resist on your ring. Life and resist on your ring. I could easily upgrade this amulet, but again, I haven't really worked on this character a whole bunch, so this is just fine. I don't think my build breaks. I don't actually need the ats from this build, so a good life and resist amulet would beat this out, and that's really just what you want. But let me get to my two key uniques here. So first we have Quill Rain. Okay, so Quill Rain, you want Quill Rain because it's the fastest attacking bow in the game, and the 50% less weapon damage line you see there doesn't apply to Explosive Arrow at all. So basically, the faster you attack, the more Explosive Arrow stacks you can apply, and the more damage you can deal out. So your damage is pretty much dependent on two things. One, your attack speed, and two, the level of your Explosive Arrow gem. Along with, of course, the supports in your tree and that kind of thing. But the two big things are attacking fast and the level of your gem. The level of your gem comes naturally with time, so that's really nice. You don't need a whole lot of upgrades there. And you can use and equip this bow at level 5. So, although you won't really equip this bow until like level 19, 20 or so, at least, because that's when Explosive Arrow becomes available. So the links for Explosive Arrow, we have Explosive Arrow, that's level 17, as you can see. Link to Elemental Proliferation. This is really important. because the entire idea is to create a big fire damage nuke and spread it around to the other enemies, which you probably saw on the map. One of the big things about the explosive arrow and the prolif is that this is not going to work as well if things remain the same as they are in the beta. So we'll see if the explosive arrow build will work the way it does right now. It may not, but either way, that this works well now. So yeah, and then chance to ignite. So the chance to ignite elemental proliferation combo is pretty simple. Basically, if you ignite one enemy in the pack, that burn will spread to everyone and they'll all die. Also, the strongest burn will be the one that spreads. So if monster A is burning for 100 damage per second, but monster B is burning for 200, then that 200 burn will override the 100 burn on the other guy if he's within range. So yeah, basically you set them on fire and it spreads to everyone else, and we apply these stacks faster. Okay. Next important thing here is that if you look at my attack, you can see that I deal 8 to 12 cold damage. Okay, that is entirely from this ring. Okay, it's really important when you're playing a build that uses elemental equilibrium to have added damage or a spell. But in this case, I use added damage because I attack. I'm not a spellcaster of a type that is not your main damage type. So I deal some cold damage with my attacks, which means that the enemies give a whole bunch of reduced resist against the fire damage nuke, which is huge. Okay. The other way I reduce their resist is I have a split arrow linked with chain. So again, because it's split arrow, this actually shoots 6 arrows, each of them which change twice, and each of them which applies the flammability curse. Okay, so basically they get hit by this and they lose 86% fire resistance, 36% from the curse, and 50% from elemental equilibrium, which is pretty darn big. I had curse with elemental weakness on hit and dual curse. That's another thing you can go for. That would make this very nasty, but again, it's still a pretty huge loss of fire resistance, and also an additional ignite chance. And then the other unique here is the Hyries Bite. This gives great stats, attack speed, and increased AoE radius. You could probably have a better quiver potentially, which would pretty much be life and resist and attack speed. And as you can see, this is corrupted. You saw that my bow is also corrupted. One of the things that you can do, since both Quill Rain and Hyries Bite are both very cheap, is if you're playing this build and you play it from the beginning of a league, you can buy up a lot of these items. You can roll your Quill Rains to a 4-link, and you can buy these or craft them with the vendor recipe, which you can actually look up. I know what it is, but I'm not going to reveal it, so you can figure out what it is yourself, probably with Google. But anyway, if you can corrupt the Hyries Bite and or your Quill Rain with one additional arrow, it will increase your damage dramatically, because the additional arrow doesn't have any kind of damage penalty. So it used to be that using explosive arrow with well, it doesn't have the projectile tag. That thing wouldn't matter. So it used to be that when you had LMP, it didn't affect the damage of the explosive arrow stacks, but they changed that in a patch a while back. So now if you want maximum damage, you need to not use LMP. But if you want that AoE and potentially be able to shotgun with explosions, having corrupted +1 arrow on bow and or quiver is fantastic. So yeah, if I get into my stats here, oops, not the passive tree. Okay, 3,800 life, 2,500, almost 2,600 mana. Oh, I didn't go through some other skills. But explosive arrow attacks per second, 5.2. You can't see the damage, but the base damage is about 400 per fuse charge, and that doesn't count any bonuses I have. So the base damage is pretty darn high. I don't know exactly what it is. Defense, I have 5,500 armor, 165 life regeneration, 184 mana regeneration, and all my resists are overcapped by about 7% or so. Except for chaos resist, obviously. And yeah, let me quickly do the rest of my skills. I only talked about really explosive arrow and split arrow. So for another thing I run a Searing Bond as a utility thing. I also run Arctic Armor, level 10. I have a blink arrow, which I use to travel around. You saw that. My boots contain my auras. We have reduced mana, clarity, grace, and discipline. And then over here on my gloves is my cast when damage taken setup, which again this probably will not work after the beta because of the Warcry changes. But again, this is great for now. Cast when damage taken, mine's level 9, linked with Enduring Cry level 10. Increased duration, you can level this up as much as you want, and Immortal Call level 9. Okay, so this character is very good at mitigating physical damage because we have our Enduring Cry Immortal Call combo, we have Arctic Armor, and we also have a huge amount of armor from Grace and Iron Reflexes. Okay, so that should about do it for coverage of what the character does. Oh, flasks. Armor flask, anti-bleed flask, movement speed flask, anti-bleed, because when you're moving you don't want to be bleeding. Anti-freeze flask, instant recovery, anti-shock flask. Okay, divine flasks are the best for anti-shock, excuse me, for instant recovery because they have the highest base amount of life recovered. They're also the best for recovery speed, potentially, because you can get a whole bunch of life from them. And, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to run another map with this